Good morning. Had a little trouble hooking up to the new Wi-Fi a little bit. I want to go into Matthew 14, verse 22 through 33. Using a little different. There we go. Okay. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the crowd, to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on the mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, "Truly you are the Son of God." What do you think, or what have you thought in the past when you've heard that story? Because we've all heard that story many, many times. And I think a lot of times our mind goes, you must, through all adversity, never be afraid. And I don't think that's what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying, trust him. Yes. Our fear should drive us to Jesus. Imagine you're out on a boat and you see someone walking on the water. What's your thought process gonna be? I mean, that's gonna be a little freaky, a little terrifying, seeing someone on the water. Now think about what Peter said. If it is you, tell me to come to you. It's an interesting thing that Peter said. If it is you, tell me to come to you and I'll walk on the water. I would probably add, because I know you are with me. But then the other things going on around, the storm, scared him. I think we find it at times in our lives, our faith is really strong and we're not afraid of anything. And then you get some little rattlings like the storm, and you get a little shaken. And then Jesus reminds us that he is with us. And the thing is, the disciples needed to be constantly reminded. Constantly reminded. And we're no different. That's why his word is so precious to us because we can find comfort in his word, especially in the Psalms. And also in receiving his body and blood. That he is with us. He will strengthen us. He will preserve us. He will be with us. Life's messy. You know, we talked before about, you know, there's evil in the world. And we love to pluck out the evil. But we can't do that. We're not supposed to do that because we might pluck out the good with the bad. So we leave that for Jesus' coming. And then we trust him to work all for his glory because he said he would. It's just like we trust in him for our forgiveness of sins because that was the promise. We trust in him for our salvation because of the promise. The covenant, as they call it in the Old Testament. The promises that he said, I will do what I say I will do. I do not change. I did not change before. I did not change now. And I will not change tomorrow. I will always be the same. We, however, are stuck fighting between our sinful nature and being children of God. We're in that struggle, and we will be in that struggle till he comes again. The comforting part is we do get those glimpses of heaven. We get those glimpses of what it will be like. But sometimes we have to look for those. Peter got distracted. Very easily to do. I mean, these boats were, I'm trying to remember how many feet there were, but they were probably 25 foot, maybe. They're not real big boats. And the Sea of Galilee is a very large body of water. It's very long. And storms would come up real quick. And the waves, even today, can still get really high. Especially if they're coming along the long side of the lake. Because it's a kind of a, I wouldn't call it a skinny lake, but it's a long lake. It's not round. Very oblong. So when those winds, have you ever been on a lake like that? When those winds hit from the right direction, you can get really, really high waves. That can be terrifying, even though you can see land. But what did Jesus tell Peter? Number one, Peter cried out, Lord, save me. And then Jesus said, you have little faith. Why did you doubt? Well, let me ask you this. Why do we doubt? Why do you doubt? Why do I doubt at times? Not that we completely turn and go to other gods, as the children of Israel did. But it's like we take our eye off of him and our trust, and we're focusing more on something else. Our society is really good at that, getting us to do that. Just like that little saying, you know, those of you that saw my sermon, God helps those who help themselves. It's not even in the Bible. But a lot of times it's very accepted that, well, you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and that's not the way it works. We don't pull ourselves up by the bootstraps to be saved. Jesus died for our sins. He drew us to faith through the gospel. It's actually, when you look at it, there's not a whole lot that we do. We do participate in our sanctification, but our justification, no. He comes to us. He comes to us. And thank God he comes to us, because we, in this life, a lot of times can really relate with Peter. And we need to seek his face. We need to continue to worship him, to receive the gifts that he gives us through the means of grace, the word and sacrament, baptism, water in the word, Holy Communion, bread and wine combined with the word. That is the food that we need to nourish us, to strengthen our faith. I pray you guys have a good week. We won't be doing a Bible study this week. Those who weren't in church on Sunday or online. God be with you. Sunday we will have another service at 10:30 in the morning. Whether you can join us online or if you can join us live, come and learn how Jesus is drawing us in and calming our fears. Have a good day, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.